So, I finally tried out Thrill of the Fight 2, and I had a really bad feeling I was going to get frustrated playing this game. I'm no sore loser when it comes to boxing, etc. I love combat sports. I always have been a big UFC fan, and I've always kind of liked boxing, but I've never boxed professionally. I do have a bag at home, and I just kind of do more kickboxing because, again, I like MMA more. And Thrill of the Fight 1 was super amazing to get the feeling of sparring someone and not really having to worry about either sparring too rough or not damaging yourself too bad by making like a mistake. Let's say you throw a punch wrong and, break something in your hand. It's a fun way to really stay fit and really get your hand-eye coordination up. Everything was based on your play space, and it had all kinds of different stuff like a speed bag and everything. Thrill of the Fight 1 had everything you could ever ask for in some kind of simulator where it's trying to replicate boxing. Thrill of the Fight 2 just had none of that, honestly. There's no story mode yet, which, yes, I'm sure it'll be coming very soon, but it really did shatter me to see that there was no practicing, no AI, no sparring partner. Nothing to even get warmed up to go into an online match. Nothing at all. It's either you do quick play rank matches or you just don't get to play the game you just spent $10 on. Expected so much more from this game, even though it is as cheap as it is, because I had a lot of faith in the company from the last game. Guess I had too much faith. First impressions walking in was a step in the right direction to me. Felt really connected to my arms in the beginning, and I really felt connected to my character, because you actually do have arms. Compared to the first game, you had no real physical body, you just had a big pair of gloves on. These gloves feel a little bit smaller, too. They're more closer to MMA-sized gloves, where they're not such a big ounce of gloves, where it's like 16 ounces or something like that. That's real massive. These gloves feel a little bit more on your hands, and you feel a little bit more in tune with them, especially seeing that that's what I use in real life. I was really excited. Calibrated my arms, I immediately went to my first fight. This is where all the disappointing things started happening for me. First off, super small play space circle. Why in God's green earth would you make a boxing game have a super small play space that can't be adjusted to the person's play space? I don't have a very big room, man, at all. But it felt like fighting in a phone booth. If I stepped out to even dodge a punch, tells me on my screen, go back to your play area, and it makes your entire screen look like you just got rocked because everything in the background goes gray, which I absolutely hated. I get it, they tried to make it more fair for each player, but how are you going to also make it where if you have a big enough living room or a big enough play space, you can bounce around and move freely? If it's trying to be fair, everyone should be stuck in this stupid little ring that they make. And I don't know why they didn't just make it based on your play space like the first game. It worked perfectly in the first game, and I don't know why they would do that. It completely ruins the game for me, honestly, and all the other issues are small little nitpicks, but man, that play space is just, I can't handle it. I literally will not play the game until it's either changed or I can find a bigger space to play in. When I'm getting swarmed by just a windmiller where it's just wild punches with no form, and I can't get away because the joystick movement literally isn't fast enough, can't bounce away like I would in real life, so I immediately get rocked and get knocked down. I just can't, man. It's not enjoyable. It's not fun. I literally even showed how I would step back and try and move backwards on a live stream with the headset on my head. Just for example, say I'm standing like this, I hit somebody with a jab, I can fucking bounce back, step in and bounce away. It's not that hard to do, and it doesn't make any sense to me why you can't do it in a VR game. Anyone can do that, too. It doesn't take super proper form to step backwards, but they just don't have that option. You have to stay in this little circle, and I kept leaning out of it or stepping back just 1 or 2 steps in my play space because I knew I had it, and the game would just immediately cuck me by saying, hey, step back in your play space, and then when I step back in, guess what would greet me? A fist. A fraction of a second or a fraction of an inch can decide whether you get knocked out in a real fight or if you stay awake. And it's just like that in the game. When they make you have to stay in a little circle, it'll get you knocked out 9 times out of 10 if you're not used to it. Another issue I was having, which I feel like is more of the Quest 3's problem, is the controllers kept disconnecting on me randomly throughout all my fights, which I don't know if that's more of a Quest 3 problem or if it's something the game deals with, but sometimes I do feel like the punches that should have connected don't connect, and then some of the punches that are thrown that with horrible form and wouldn't do any damage and are absolutely just atrocious rock my opponent or rock me. Knockdown. 1. I don't really understand why the game rewards bad form, too. If you just kind of flail your arms as fast as you can, you'll get knockdowns constantly. Even me, I kind of panic throw like this left hook when someone steps into my play space, and I literally rocked my opponent like 10 times with it. And he actually wasn't that bad of a fighter, he just didn't have that good of form. And again, I can't really tell because there is another issue. Your arms don't really feel as connected to you as I thought in the initial beginning. When I throw hooks really fast and stuff like that, I feel like my body in the game versus my body in real life are never truly connected. Sometimes when I was throwing right hooks, it would feel like my body was way farther back than it actually was. I can't step forward, throw a hook, and step back because, again, this play spaces just kind of ruins it. And I don't know if they'll ever be able to fix that and replicate it like they did in the first game, where I can really step forward, throw a punch, step back, step forward, and teeter that line of being in somebody's range and being out of somebody's range. Because, again, when you're moving on this slow joystick and you can't move any faster, it just kind of ruins it, man. There was this one kid I fought that he was literally flailing punches with horrible form, and I got knocked down, and I actually just rage quit, dude. Like, I don't mean any harm to the kid. You know, he probably could knock me out in real life, and he knocked me down fair and square in the game. But if it was truly boxing, throwing windmill punches isn't going to do what you think it's going to do. You can't hit me with a windmill punch. It's disgusting. The first fight I ever did in the game, I didn't even get footage of. It was a kid so young he couldn't even properly stand up straight because he was so short. His character was kind of kneeled, and I kept hitting him with uppercuts. We were just knocking him down. But even he was able to flail his arms and stun me once. I knocked him down like 10 times and got a decision victory. It still doesn't feel like a real boxing trainer like the first game did. I feel like even if you have the skill of a real fighter in the game, it doesn't really matter, because if someone just swarms you fast enough, if they can throw their arms faster out than you can, you'll get a knockdown. You'll get a knockout. It feels like a really clunky arcade game that just should be free. It doesn't feel like I should pay $10 for it. There's actually another Street Fighting game on the Quest 3 that feels the exact same, and it's free. That's really shitty of them to do, honestly, and I had a lot of faith in the company, and I really hope they update the game, but until then, I kind of wish I could get my money back. It didn't feel like real boxing at all like the first game did, and I don't know if you guys felt that way, but especially when I threw hooks, it just doesn't feel like a real hook feels. I tend to hold my elbows kind of directly in line with my fist, and for some reason my arm in the game always slouched down kind of, which sometimes I feel like it took power away from my hooks, and sometimes my hooks wouldn't connect because it would be too far away, but really, in real life, I would have been in range. I also knew coming into this game, and every VR fighting game that you'll ever play, fighting in the pocket is really hard. Basically what fighting in the pocket is when you're really up close to each other and you're really having to use your leverage just to kind of hit each other. If you've seen Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje at UFC 300, you know exactly what fighting in the pocket is, because they stood right in front of each other and kind of just threw punches. As a shorter fighter, I definitely have to get in the pocket a lot more than your average fighter, especially anybody over 6 foot, and in VR, it just doesn't work. That is not the game's fault at all. They did their best with that. If you can't really feel somebody and where they're at in front of you, can't really judge where to go, what to throw, and the openings you do have. That's also another thing about VR. You have narrowed eyesight, so you can't really see in your peripherals as much. I do have the Quest 3, so it's a little bit better for me than a Quest 2 user, but still, it's not great. It's something that the game tried its best, but it's just physically impossible to do in VR, honestly, so that's not really a gripe towards the game company at all. I feel like there's a lot that can be worked on this game, and I feel really bad leaving such a harsh review, but I just expected more. And I know a lot of you like this game. If you have proper boxing form, if you don't have proper boxing form, it doesn't really matter. If you have fun, you have fun, but I just didn't. It wasn't fun for me. I play UFC 5 all the time, and I've lost so many online matches, and I'm not really a sore loser. The only time I get like mad is when someone taunts me, and I haven't even been taunted in Thrill of the Fight 2. I've actually had some really nice people. We always tap gloves at the beginning, and we're always really kind to each other. We always wave. I seen this kid adjusting his like wrist strap, and I actually stopped and let him do that because I understand it. Oh yeah, go ahead. I understand that. I really should have been playing with a wrist strap too, but again, it just doesn't feel as satisfying as Thrill the Fight 1 did, anything that Thrill the Fight 1 ever did. It does everything kind of half-assed, and I hope that there's some update to fix that, but I don't know if that's going to come. I would say the most disorienting thing, and the biggest warning I have for anybody looking to buy this game, is please be careful if you have motion sickness, because the fact that you have to move on the joystick, you also don't really have to turn in real life. You have a forward arrow that's constantly locked on your opponent in front of you, and it's really messing with my vertigo. Like, I feel so like the room is spinning right now because it'll make you so dizzy constantly turning towards an opponent when you're not really turning in real life. When I close my eyes, I feel like I'm just spinning in a big circle that's going to the left because I kept on circling my opponent, and I literally can't hardly hold my head up. I hate it. I can't stand it. They need to change whatever and add me where I can do turning in person or have that mode on in a different setting. But there's no settings in this game yet. If you are having fun with the game, tell me what you love the most about the game, and I'm hoping that I don't make anybody mad with this video like I have in previous videos about other VR games. I know this probably has a diehard fan base, and I can't blame you. It is really fun for you guys. I feel like it could just be a little bit more accurate. But again, I'm no professional fighter. I don't really know. We'd have to get Sean O'Malley in it and make sure he can really test it out for me. Anyways, guys, that's the end of this video. I know I kind of brought this video out of nowhere and super fast, but I wanted to make the video. I just got done playing the game, and these are my first impressions. I don't know when I'll make a video about this game again, because honestly, I just don't have fun with it. I don't know, but I'm glad you guys have been supporting all the videos so much recently. It's been a blast. Every YouTube video I upload getting like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 views every single time, and we're really honing in on 2,000 subs, so if you guys can keep that train going, I'd really appreciate it. And yeah, I guess that's the end. I don't really know how to do outros.
I can't move my fucking spamming me.